Today's headlines, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers.
Elsewhere around the NFC East, the Giants give up a late lead in a 24-20 loss to the Bears in Chicago. The Bears reach 6 wins on the season, and the Lions blast the Commanders in Washington. Detroit also makes it to 6 wins.
So I would just like to emphasize the 6 wins part of this, and I want to talk about the standings and where the Cowboys currently sit at 3-5-1. The reason why I highlighted the 6 wins is this. I think most people can agree 500 is not going to get you into the playoffs in the NFC this year. That's 8-8-1 for the Cowboys, which is on the table in a 17-game schedule. Somehow they have figured out how to go 500. But that means over this tail end of the stretch, 5-3 will not make the playoffs. 6-2 at a minimum can give you a chance. But a lot of the teams, a lot of the 10 teams in front of the Cowboys will have a decent shot to make it to that 9-win threshold before they do, considering Dallas' schedule. So as we bring everyone back in, let's start breaking this thing down. What realistic opportunity do you give the Cowboys with their defensive acquisitions? Can they make a run, or is this just preparing for next year?
This is preparing for next season. When I'm looking at this schedule, I'm looking at it right now, I just don't see how they get to 9. Not considering the fact that they play Detroit, Kansas City, the Chargers, the Eagles. I just don't see how they get to 9. I think it'll be really impressive if somehow they can get to 8-8-1, which is still a colossally disappointing season. But given the way this season has progressed, that's the way it is. They ain't getting to 9, and they're sure as hell not getting to 10.
Yeah, 10 would be a 7-1 finish, which, to be fair, the last time they made a big middle-of-the-season trade for Amari Cooper, that was precisely the record they finished with in 2018 to win the NFC East. Very, very different schedule that they faced over the course of the back half of that season compared to this season. Honestly, I don't think there's any team that anybody should be looking at right now for the Dallas Cowboys to chase down except for one, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. And the chances are very, very small, but the reason why there is at least a chance to chase down the Eagles has to do with 2 things. One, the fact that you do still have a head-to-head game remaining with them, and then the fact that as hard as the Dallas Cowboys schedule is the rest of the way, the Eagles schedule is just as difficult. Now, you need the Eagles to go
fall off a cliff
like 3-6 the rest of the way.
Yeah.
But that's your only even somewhat reasonable, because I don't think to tab it as a reasonable pathway is realistic or fair, but that's, I think, their most likely anyway pathway to a playoff spot, is that the Eagles show to be not real in their title defense, and you beat them here in Arlington in a couple of weeks, and they lose to the Packers tomorrow. They lose to, I believe it's the Lions that they have between now and when the Cowboys face them, and then you beat them that night. You come in with 2 consecutive wins to get yourself to, at that point, you'd be 5-5-1, and Philly would be 6-5 if that were to play out. And now it kind of is game on, because both teams have very difficult schedules the rest of the way.
I just think the threshold of getting to 3 wins for a Philly team is way different than Dallas getting to 6.
Well,
and again, I realize that's simple math, but at the same time, like when I was breaking this down earlier in the week and I was kind of pockmarking, okay, can the Eagles pick up 3 wins? There are 3, and I'm forgetting the games on my schedule, but I could talk myself them getting 3 additional wins. Like that's a bottom line.
They have the Commanders twice.
Exactly, and the Commanders
have the
fallen off
Commanders
the cliff.
twice late, which could hypothetically be after a Jaden Daniels return, maybe, which could, but then Dallas also is going to have to face him after a potential Jaden Daniels return. So the pathway is, you're threading a camel through the eye of a needle here.
Sure, and the other part of this to me is, Mac, that you want, what do you want to see from Q and the rest of the defensive acquisitions, specifically a new-look defense? By all accounts, should start 6 new guys after the bye week. What should we expect, and what do you need to see from them?
Their biggest order is here to be better than the guy that they're replacing. Logan Wilson has to be better than Kenneth Murray. DeMarvion Overshawn has to be better than whomever he's going to come in and replace, which is not going to be tough, but he's coming off another ACL, and I know everybody's excited about him coming back, justifiably. At some point, Mike Leslie's friend Trayvon Diggs is going to come back, whenever he comes back,
Is he?
he's got to show something. He's not going to be a Cowboy next season. Everybody knows it. But he's got to do something just to have a job, a multi-year contract with an NFL team next season, because the Cowboys are going to cut him. I want to see something from Kenny Clark. The fact that the Cowboys traded Parsons for Kenny Clark and then 6-7 weeks later go out and get him from the Jets, that is a huge indictment on Kenny Clark. You've just got to see better. Look, the way this team is structured, if they somehow could be the 18th, 19th, or 20th ranked defense in the NFL from today to the end of the season, that's progress. And this team with this offense, we keep saying that, they could win 5 games. They could. They could reach 5. They could get to 8-1. That's all you've got to do. And I think given the acquisitions they just made, that's what they need to go do. You don't have to be the 85 Bears, but go be the 19th ranked defense from here on out, and that's marked improvement.
How do we feel, and Mac, I want to get your opinion on this. How do we feel about getting, and I realize the Kenny Clark piece of this is real, but essentially the Micah Parsons trade boiled down to, with some caveats here, getting Quinnen Williams. You got a year and a half older, because we're already talking, this is about next year. By the time he plays meaningful games late next season, he's going to be 29, verging on the tail end of his career. So you got basically 2 years older at an impact defensive player position. Was this a move that they needed to make, or is this just a stopgap to try and get over the hump in Dak's final stretch here?
I think it's a stopgap. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Andrew. They just got older. You've got 3 guys at defensive tackles making $20 million plus. One of them's gone this time next year, and it's going to be Kenny Clark, or they're going to restructure a deal or whatever. I mean, there's no really great way to spin this. They got older. They're not as good. I know Micah Parsons was a pain in the butt. He was a prima donna, and there was fatigue there. Okay, that's fine. But they've got 3 of the same guy, and I don't see a lot of production there. And now you hit it. They're older. Now, I do anticipate one of these guys aging pretty well. But the bottom line is, look, their linebacking unit is awful. They just traded for a Bengals player from the worst defense, maybe one of the worst defenses in the history of the NFL, and he couldn't crack the starting lineup on that defense. However we want to spin this, I think it's an upgrade from what they had, but it's still a hell of a long way to go, and they gave up an awful lot to get him.